Chapter 1094. Even though everyone had already guessed that the practitioner who got the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower was likely to be Bailey Hongzhuang, at this moment, when they knew that it was really Bailey Hongzhuang, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. My God, it's really Bailey Hongzhuang. What is the background of this Bailey Hongzhuang? How could she get the inheritance so easily? No matter what her background is, just the fact that she can get the inheritance has already proved that her strength is not simple. Some practitioners who were originally dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang also dispelled their original evil thoughts after knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements. Needless to say, Bailey Hongzhuang must be a very extraordinary person in the future. In the history of the Blood Qi Tower, all the practitioners who got the inheritance were extraordinary people. There was no doubt about this. After knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang actually got the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower, Bloody Rose was deeply shocked in her heart. Originally, she only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was good, but she was still not worthy of Bewitching. However, now, after knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements, everything she originally clamored for became a joke. This woman's cultivation talent was so strong. At this moment, Bloody Rose was not only jealous that Bailey Hongzhuang could get Bewitching's heart, but she was even more jealous that Bailey Hongzhuang could get such a result. This was just as Bailey Hongzhuang said before. She would rely on her own strength, and did not need to rely on anyone. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the Blood Qi Tower, she saw Bewitching and Heimu standing at the door looking at her with a smile. The three beasts were also sitting on the shoulders of Bewitching and Heimu. During this time, the three beasts and Bewitching were also very familiar with each other. No matter who they sat on, they were very used to it. Wife, congratulations. Bewitching's handsome face curved into a happy and enchanting smile as he reached out his right hand to grab Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her smile was beautiful and bright. I told you that I can pass. Young mistress, you're really amazing. Heimu admires you. Heimu was not stingy with his praise. He was already full of admiration for the young mistress. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful cherry lips curled up slightly. Her eyes were bright and moving. Heimu is getting better at talking. Heimu smiled and scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were talking, many cultivators were looking at them. After all, the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower was an explosive piece of news. Many cultivators wanted to know how Bailey Hongzhuang had broken through the trial. They had been trapped in the trial for many years. Bewitching's deep gaze swept across the cultivators who were looking at them. He said, Wife, let's go back first. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. There were too many people here. It was indeed not a good place to talk. The three of them left quickly, and many cultivators' gazes were fixed on them. Feeling the gazes around her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. The situation was clearly different from what she had imagined. Logically speaking, this inheritance could only be obtained by cultivators who passed. Even if other cultivators killed her, they would not be able to obtain this inheritance. They should not be following her closely. Chapter 1095. Wife, are you tired from the last round today? As they walked, Bewitching's voice quietly entered Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. No, I'm in great shape right now. She had relied entirely on the Chaos Ring to pass the last round today. As for herself, she had not used any energy at all. Moreover, she was in great shape after receiving the legacy of the Blood Qi Tower. She could even be said to be full of energy. Then, how about we leave the Bloodground Abyss right now? Bewitching's dark eyes flickered with a deep light. His handsome face was calm and composed. All right. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed without any hesitation. They had originally planned to leave after receiving the legacy of the Blood Qi Tower. Since they had already received it, there was no need for them to continue staying here. Moreover, judging from the cultivator's situation, if they continued to stay here, something might happen. It was better to leave as soon as possible. After receiving Bailey Hongzhuang's confirmation, Bewitching and Heimu looked at each other. The situation was just as they had expected. Whenever a cultivator who received the legacy appeared, the blood-ground abyss would not be peaceful. Back then, Bewitching had not stayed in the blood-ground abyss for long after receiving the legacy. He had directly left. The three of them walked out of the blood-ground abyss. Many cultivators were stunned when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others preparing to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang is preparing to leave the blood-ground abyss? She's already successfully obtained the blood chi field. Why is she still staying here? If Bailey Hongzhuang leaves, won't we not know the trick to breaking through the trial? Many cultivators began to hesitate. Although they knew that everyone's trial was different, it was always good to know more. Perhaps they would encounter the same trial. However, when the crowd saw Bewitching beside Bailey Hongzhuang, many of the cultivators who originally had evil intentions chose to give up. After all, Bewitching's display in the Blood Chi Tower had intimidated many people. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two unhurriedly walked out of the blood-ground abyss. Heimu had already prepared the horses according to Bewitching's instructions. When they were about to reach the entrance of the Bloodland Abyss, Bailey Hongzhuang saw the horses that had been prepared not far away. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching in astonishment. It seemed that Bewitching had already expected such a situation. With a flip, the three of them immediately left on their horses. After the three of them successfully left the blood-ground abyss, a joyful smile spread across Bailey Hongzhuang's calm face. Fortunately, no cultivators had attacked them until they left. "We've finally left successfully." While she was walking, her heart was in her mouth. Once a cultivator attacked, it was very likely that it would be a group battle. Looking at the beautiful smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Bewitching's face softened a bit. This time, there were no cultivators who made a move. Our luck is not bad. Heimu looked at the young master and young mistress, who were made in heaven. He steered his horse slower and quietly followed behind the young master and young mistress. Chapter 1096. Yuanwu City. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching returned to Yuanwu City, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing warmly received Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiuyue. "Young Master Miss Bailey, how did you feel in the blood-ground abyss?" Yuan Hongyang had a faint smile on his face, but there was a trace of admiration in his eyes as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiuyue. Long ago, he knew that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang were not simple. However, he did not expect Bewitching and Lu Qiuyue to stay in the blood-ground abyss for such a long time. It was truly surprising. "Not bad," Bewitching said with a faint smile. Just as Big Brother Yuan said before, the blood-ground abyss was very bloody and surprising. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile was faint and elegant. There was no need to talk about what happened in the blood-ground abyss after leaving the blood-ground abyss. It must have been very tiring for you in the blood-ground abyss. Since you have returned to Yuanwu City, why don't you come to our Yuan clan to rest for a few days? Yuan Hongyang asked. Yuan Hongyang was very grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiuyue. If not for the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiuyue, the Yuan clan would not have been able to suppress the Xie clan so easily. Now, after the Yuan clan's hard work, the Xie clan's arrogance had been completely suppressed by them. Not only that, the Xie clan's loss of a successor like Xie Qi was undoubtedly a huge blow. It had a significant impact on the Xie clan's reputation. While the Xie clan was in chaos, they took over some of the Xie clan's businesses. Regarding this, the Lu clan had always maintained a neutral attitude. As a result, their Yuan clan had become the #1 clan in Yuanwu City. All these years, they had always wanted to achieve this goal. However, the three clans had been at odds for too long and did not agree to break this situation. However, he did not expect that the two friends he had made along the way would help him complete all of this. It was like a pie falling from the sky. Therefore, Yuan Hongyang was very grateful to Bewitching and Lu Qiuyue. "Thank you, Big Brother Yuan, for your kindness, but we have urgent matters to attend to, so we can't stay here for long." Bailey Hongzhuang declined politely. For Yuan Hongyang and the others, they were originally just acquaintances. They had met by chance, and it was fate to be able to come to this point. Hearing this, Yuan Hongyang suddenly understood. "So that's how it is. Then I will immediately arrange for the wyverns to depart for the Sky Swallow Kingdom." "Many thanks, Big Brother Yuan." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang. And Hongzhuang didn't want Dee to be labeled as someone addicted to love because of her. Because she missed and Chiyuez were very much. Yuan Hongyang waved his hand. If you want to thank someone, it should be the cultivators of my Yuan clan. Leave such a small matter to us. We will get it done quickly. Now, as the Yuan clan's weight in Yuanwu City became more and more important, the wyvern was completely under their control. Therefore, it was easy for him to help Di Beichen and Lu Chiyue arrange for the wyvern to leave. Yuan Hongyang immediately went to arrange it, while Yuan Liqing stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Her pretty face revealed a bit of reluctance. It was not easy to see you come back from the bloody ground abyss. I didn't expect you to return to Tianyin Kingdom so soon. Yuan Liqing sighed. After you leave this time, I'm afraid we won't be able to see each other again. Chapter 1097. I hope so. The corners of Yuan Liqing's mouth curled into a smile. However, the smile on her slightly desolate face did not reach the bottom of her heart. In the future, I will probably go to the Bloodground Abyss again. At that time, I will definitely come to the Origin Martial City to see you. Her exquisite and beautiful face bloomed with a bright and beautiful smile. During this period of time in the Bloodground Abyss, she had improved a lot. Naturally, she would not miss such a place that was beneficial to improving her cultivation. Being able to obtain the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower this time was already the best harvest for her. However, she was still very interested in the training ground behind the Bloodground Abyss. As long as she had the chance in the future, she would definitely come here again. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was serious and did not seem to be comforting her, the smile on Yuan Liqing's face widened. That's great. When the time comes, you must come and find me. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Definitely. Yuan Liqing, whose mood had improved, carefully sized up Bailey Hongzhuang. With this look, her eyes could not help but be filled with surprise. Hongzhuang, I feel that your aura has improved a lot. Yuan Liqing frowned slightly. Bailey Hongzhuang had only left the Origin Martial City for a few months, but when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, the feeling was completely different. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was controlling her aura, and she could not feel it clearly, she felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was much stronger than before. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I have indeed improved in the Bloodground Abyss this time. What's your cultivation now? Yuan Liqing asked curiously. In the past, she was also filled with curiosity about the Bloodground Abyss. However, she could not accept such a bloody and dangerous place. There were enemies everywhere. The slightest carelessness could lead to a fatal disaster. In such a place she could not even sleep in peace. Originally, she thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were just going to take a look, and would be back soon. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen would actually stay in the Bloodground Abyss for such a long time? She was truly envious. Orange Level 1. Bailey Hongzhuang did not hide it. When she passed the first 8 floors of the Blood Qi Tower, her strength had already reached the 8th level of the Red Realm. After successfully breaking through the 9th level of the trial and obtaining the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower, her cultivation level increased to Orange Level Rank 1. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Yuan Liqing couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in horror, clearly unable to believe what she had heard. Orange Level Rank 1? Yuan Liqing's eyes widened. You're leveling up too fast. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The Bloodground Abyss is indeed a place that promotes one's cultivation level. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but exclaim. She was also surprised by the speed of her cultivation level improvement. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's exclamation, Yuan Liqing had a guess in her mind. She knew what kind of place the Bloodground Abyss was. Presumably, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation level had been forced to improve in that environment. Looks like you guys have suffered a lot in the Bloodground Abyss. Yuan Liqing could not help but exclaim. What kind of pressure could allow one's cultivation level to improve so quickly? Chapter 1098. Not long after, Yuan Hongyang returned. Young Master D. Miss Bailey. Yuan Hongyang had a faint smile on his face. The flying beasts have already been arranged. You can set off whenever you want. Thank you, young Master Yuan. Di Baichen bowed. It's our duty. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen looked at each other. They did not plan to waste any more time in Yuanwu City. Since the flying beasts had already been arranged, they could set off now. Yuan Hongyang also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen had urgent matters to attend to. He immediately headed towards the direction of the flying beasts with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Baichen, and He Mu sat on the flying beasts together. Young Master Di, Miss Bailey, take care. Yuan Hongyang stood below the flying beast and said, You guys take care too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Hongzhuang, the next time you come to Yuanwu City, you must come to the Yuan clan to find me. Yuan Liqing waved her hand and said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Definitely. The flying beasts quickly flew into the air and carried Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two as well as the three beasts towards Sky Swallow Kingdom. Only when the flying beasts gradually disappeared from their sight did Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing retract their gazes. I didn't expect them to be able to stay in the blood-ground abyss for so long. It's really unexpected. I wonder when He Mu went to find them. Yuan Hongyang's eyes were filled with emotion. Thinking back, his performance when he went to the blood-ground abyss was terrible. He originally thought that Di Baichen and He Muer's performance would not be much better than his. He did not expect the two of them to be gone for so long. Hongyang, you don't know how terrifying Hongzhuang's improvement in the blood-ground abyss was. Yuan Liqing pretended to be mysterious as she looked at Yuan Hongyang. Bailey Hongzhuang had scared her, so she wanted to scare Yuan Hongyang as well. Looking at Yuan Liqing's appearance, Yuan Hongyang was also very curious. The blood-ground abyss can indeed help cultivators increase their cultivation. How much has Bailey Hongzhuang improved? She stayed in the blood-ground abyss for a few months, so she should be able to reach the 5th level of the Red Realm, right? TSK. Yuan Liqing waved her hand. You're underestimating Hongzhuang. Yuan Hongyang's eyes narrowed. Could it be that he has advanced by 2 stages? Yuan Liqing shook her head and continued to look at Yuan Hongyang. 3rd stage. Yuan Hongyang was surprised. Isn't this promotion too fast? Raising 1 level in a month is impossible under normal circumstances. That's not right. Yuan Liqing said. Guess again. Yuan Hongyang frowned and looked at Yuan Liqing in disbelief. Don't tell me that Bailey Hongzhuang has advanced by 5 steps? It's the 7th stage. Yuan Liqing emphasized. Previously, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Red Realm. Now that she was at the 1st level of the Orange Realm, wasn't that an advancement of 7 stages? Yuan Hongyang was stunned as soon as he heard this. He looked at Yuan Liqing in disbelief, as if he had heard something extremely unbelievable. 7th stage? Then Bailey Hongzhuang is at the 1st level of the Orange Realm? Yuan Liqing nodded affirmatively. That's right. Hongzhuang's cultivation is now at the 1st level of the Orange Realm. How is that possible? Yuan Hongyang furrowed his brows in disbelief. How did she improve so quickly? Chapter 1099. Looking at Yuan Hongyang's incredulous expression, the smile on Yuan Liqing's face widened. At least, she was not the only one who was shocked. The two of them walked towards the Yuan residence. Originally, they were very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen, and wanted to invite them to stay at the Yuan residence for a while. They did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen to leave so quickly after meeting them. It was really a pity. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing. After seeing who it was, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing were surprised. Big brother, why are you here? Yuan Hongyang asked in surprise. The person who came was none other than the Yuan family head, Yuan Qingxue. When Yuan Qingxue saw that only Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing were there, he could not help but ask, Why are there only the two of you? Where are Miss Bailey and young Master Di? They have urgent matters to attend to, so I arranged for the wyvern to send them away, Yuan Hongyang replied. Big brother, why are you looking for them? They've left. Yuan Qingxue was startled. Obviously, this answer was not what he expected. Yuan Liqing nodded slightly. However, from Yuan Qingxue's attitude, she could feel that the situation was not so simple. Big brother, why are you looking for them in such a hurry? Did something happen? Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing looked at Yuan Qingxue curiously. Their big brother had always been steady, and it was rare to see him like this. I just received news that Bailey Hongzhuang has obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower. Yuan Qingxue sighed. Yuan Qingxue sighed faintly. After hearing this news, he was completely stunned. How difficult was it to obtain the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower? He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to obtain the inheritance in less than 3 months at the Bloodgrave Abyss. Her strength and talent were really amazing. When he thought of how they knew Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching, Yuan Qingxue could not help but feel excited. His younger brother had only met them by chance on the way here. If these friends were so capable, he could not miss this opportunity. He must build a good relationship with them. It was precisely because of this that he had immediately rushed out from his family to welcome Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruoyun. He did not expect that they had already left. Hearing Yuan Qingxue's words, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing looked at each other in disbelief. Big brother, what did you say? Yuan Hongyang asked again in disbelief. Bailey Hongzhuang has obtained the legacy of the Blood Qi Tower. Yuan Qingxue wasn't surprised by Yuan Hongyang's reaction. You've met 2 incredible people this time. I was wondering how Bailey Hongzhuang managed to level up to orange level rank, 1 in such a short time. She must have passed the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower. Yuan Liqing exclaimed. At this moment, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing understood. As it turned out, they didn't need to worry about whether or not Bailey Hongzhuang could adapt to the environment of the Bloodground Abyss. Not only did they adapt, they even made a name for themselves in the Bloodground Abyss. Not only that, Bewitching is the cultivator who obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower a few years ago. Come to think of it, that's why Bewitching brought Bailey Hongzhuang to the Bloodground Abyss. Yuan Qingxue's words were like a heavy bomb that smashed into Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing's hearts. When they thought of how they had advised Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruoyun about the dangers of the Bloodground Abyss, they felt that they were ridiculous. Chapter 1100. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching naturally didn't know how much shock their affairs had brought to Yuan Hongyang and others. They just rode the flying beast to resist the cold. Wifey, do you want to go back to Tiangang sect with me this time? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes and looked at Bewitching with a little doubt. I have to participate in the selection competition first before entering Tiangang sect. They had already discussed it before. Before proving that she had enough qualifications to enter Tiangang sect, she would not go. Whether it was for Bewitching's reputation or for her own pride, she couldn't go through the back door. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled look, Bewitching's lips evoked an evil and charming smile. I mean, you go to Tiangang sect with me. The selection competition will start soon. I will let He Mu pass the news to Xia Jiqing and let them prepare to participate in the selection competition. You will go with me and enter the selection competition directly, saving the trouble of running back and forth. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. According to Bewitching's words, it was not impossible. However, at this moment, she went back with Bewitching. She was afraid that it would inevitably cause an uproar in Tiangang sect. At least, Han Xiling would not stop. Wifey, this selection competition will not end in a short time. Don't you want to go to Tiangang sect to announce your ownership? Bewitching winked at Bailey Hongzhuang. For him, it was good to be able to stay with his wifey for a while. He understood that many disciples in the sect were full of curiosity about Hongzhuang, and there were many unpleasant remarks. However, the reason he brought Hongzhuang back this time was to tell everyone that no matter what other people thought, Hongzhuang was the woman he loved the most. With this opportunity, he could also let some people completely give up. Looking at Bewitching's seductive appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually widened. Once such a devilishly handsome man tried to seduce you, that kind of charm was something that no ordinary woman could resist. Alright. Bailey Hongzhuang did not mind going to Tiangang sect to meet Han Xiling again. In the future, she would set foot in Tiangang sect sooner or later, so it might not be a bad thing to go earlier. As for what Han Xiling might do, she would deal with whatever came her way. She would deal with it as it came. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang agreed to his proposal, Bewitching was in a good mood. The last time I returned to Tiangang sect, I already told everyone your identity. Everyone is very curious about you. However, there are good and bad things in this curiosity. After you go, don't worry about anything else. Just trust me. I will deal with all these problems. Bewitching held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. He did not want Bailey Hongzhuang to suffer any grievances. However, he was forced to leave Tiangang sect for 3 years. When he returned, he suddenly told everyone that he was married. Naturally, some people were dissatisfied. Among them, the most dissatisfied was the Great Elder. However, he would deal with these problems one by one. The first and most important thing was to let everyone believe in the existence of Hongzhuang. Only after proving this point, he could deal with other things. Chapter 1101. For Bailey Hongzhuang, other than the people she cared about, she didn't care about the words of others. After all, she had long been used to these discussions over the years. With Han Shiling's position in Tiangang sect, the disciples of Tiangang sect would certainly believe her words. When she went to Tiangang sect, it was inevitable that she would hear some bad words. However, these wouldn't have any effect on her. Sooner or later, she would have to face this matter. It wasn't a bad idea to go to Tiangang sect earlier to broaden her horizons. Soon, she would let Han Shiling know the taste of being slapped in the face. Looking at the confident radiance on Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate smiling face, Bewitching tightened his grip on Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. "Wife, I love you." Under such circumstances, he only wanted to say these 3 words to Bailey Hongzhuang. From the beginning, he was the one who liked Hongzhuang and pursued Hongzhuang. Now Hongzhuang had to bear some unnecessary pressure because of him. In his heart, he felt very guilty towards Hongzhuang. However, he would solve these problems as soon as possible. As soon as these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face suddenly flushed with a touch of crimson. Her clear and bright eyes were also moist and moving. Heimu quietly sat in a position far away from Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching. He was minding his own business and cultivating. See no evil, hear no evil. He still understood this situation. At this moment, the 3 beasts were also sitting in Heimu's arms. Originally, the 3 of them had been following their master around like third wheels. Now that Heimu had appeared, they were completely handed over to him by Bewitching. Now they couldn't even watch the show. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others got closer to Tianyin Kingdom, they also found that the original cold had gradually dissipated. The cotton-padded clothes on their bodies were also put into their universe bags. Other than the Snow Origin country, which was a country of ice and snow, the other places would not make them feel so cold. Finally, under such a hurried journey, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 2 successfully arrived at the kingdom of Sky Swallow. Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat emotional when she came to Sky Swallow Kingdom again. Accustomed to the bloody scenes of the bloody ground abyss, he only felt that the kingdom of Sky Swallow was unusually peaceful. Heimu, go to Tsonglan College first, and tell this news to the cultivators in the special enrollment class. Then come back to Tiangang sect to find me. Bewitching explained things to Heimu as they walked. The relationship between Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiajiqing was very good. Bewitching was also very clear. It was precisely because of this that he specifically asked Heimu to inform Xiajiqing and the others. Not all cultivators could participate in the selection competition. They had to pass some tests before they could participate. "Young master, you mean to let Lady Xia and the rest go to Tiangang sect and participate in the selection after passing the Tiangang sect's test?" Heimu asked. Usually, this selection competition was selected by the dynasty. Only the top cultivators in the dynasty had the possibility to participate in the selection competition. Now many dynasties had begun to prepare for this selection. Sects also had places for assessment. It was just that the cultivators who passed the sect assessment and participated in the selection competition were equivalent to seeded players. Needless to say, the strength of the young master's wife naturally didn't need to be mentioned. However, the other students in the special enrollment class might not necessarily be able to pass the assessment. Bewitching nodded. "Yes, let them come together." Chapter 1102. Seeing that Bewitching had already made his decision, Heimu no longer questioned it. He knew that the young master had always been very good to the young lady. Through this method, the young lady would be able to participate in the selection with familiar friends. Otherwise, those who participated in the selection would all be unfamiliar cultivators. Undoubtedly, cooperation would not be a small problem. Young master, I will immediately go to Azure Water School to inform Miss Xia and the others. You and the young lady should return to Tiangang sect first. Heimu said. Now Tiangang sect had been urging the young master to return. If they did not return as soon as possible, the storm that the young lady would face would be even stronger. Bewitching nodded slightly. Be careful on the way. Heimu no longer hesitated, and immediately rode his horse in the direction of Azure Water School. After Heimu left, Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay for long, and immediately rushed to Tiangang sect Azure Water School. Ren Tianxiong and Huan Chuyu had already informed all the students about the selection competition. This once every 5 years selection competition was an extremely good opportunity for cultivators to become a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. Once they had a good performance in the selection, they would be able to step into the clouds and truly enter the top forces of Shengxian continent. If they missed this opportunity, they would have to wait for another 5 years. The cultivators of Azure Water School went crazy after hearing this news. This was a good opportunity that no one could give up. It was just that the selection test was not easy to pass. If one's strength was not strong enough, they would not even have the chance to participate in the selection. Jiqing, the selection is about to begin. We have to go back to our respective dynasties to fight for a place to participate. Zhang Yunfeng sat beside Xia Jiqing. This was an opportunity that they absolutely could not miss. As a cultivator, they naturally wanted to enter a sect. That was a place that belonged to cultivators. Once they became a member of a sect, their status would be completely different. Moreover, the various resources in the sect would be far more abundant than what they currently had access to. Xia Jiqing nodded slightly, her pretty face revealing a bit of loneliness. The selection is about to begin, but Hong Zhuang has not returned yet. Could it be that she does not know about this selection? This was a good opportunity that cultivators simply could not miss. It would be a pity if Hong Zhuang missed this opportunity, because she didn't know about it. Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but chuckle. How is that possible? Bewitching is the young lord of Tiangang sect. He must know about this. Since Bewitching knows about it, how could Hong Zhuang not know about it? Xia Jiqing reacted. You're right, Hong Zhuang should also be participating in this selection, right? Zhang Yunfeng pondered and shook her head. Not necessarily. With Bewitching's identity, it is not a problem to recruit Hong Zhuang into Tiangang sect. Maybe Hong Zhuang will not participate in the selection competition and directly go to Tiangang sect as a disciple. The purpose of the selection competition was to give cultivators the opportunity to enter a sect. Bailey Hongzhuang already had the opportunity to enter a sect. It didn't matter whether she participated in the selection competition or not. Xia Jiqing was stunned, but soon a firm light appeared in her eyes. Hong Zhuang will definitely participate. With her understanding of Hong Zhuang would definitely not enter Tiangang sect like this. Chapter 1103. Seeing that Xia Jiqing was so sure, Zhang Yunfeng was also a little surprised. According to her idea, Hong Zhuang was already Bewitching's wife, so entering Tiangang sect was a matter of course. According to the principal and vice principal's introduction, this selection competition had a certain risk, and if one was not careful, they could lose their life. With Hong Zhuang's identity, there was no need to take risks. It was better to go to Tiangang sect to cultivate, which would be better. I know Hong Zhuang's temperament. Xia Jiqing smiled faintly. She knew Hong Zhuang's inner thoughts. She had never been a person who liked to take advantage of others. What's more, Hong Zhuang had always felt that taking a shortcut was not a good thing. Only taking it step by step seriously was the best result. Zhang Yunfeng shrugged her shoulders. She didn't know why Xia Jiqing was so sure of her answer, but she didn't object. If Hong Zhuang also participated in the selection competition, Maybe they could meet in the arena and form a team together. Jiqing, when are you going to return to the dynasty? Bai Junyu slowly walked over. Since the principal and vice principal announced the news, many cultivators had packed up and were ready to return to the dynasty to participate in the assessment. If they passed the assessment and had the opportunity to participate in the selection competition, they would participate in the selection competition. If they did not pass the assessment, then they would return to the college. Although everyone was extremely excited, only a small portion of them were able to participate in the selection competition. Most of the cultivators did not have the opportunity to participate. It was said that each dynasty only had a few places, or even a dozen places. This point alone showed how fierce the competition was. Xia Jiqing's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. I want to wait for 2 days. Hong Zhuang may be back. If she comes back, I will go with her to participate in the assessment. She and Hong Zhuang had known each other for so long. Naturally, she had a certain understanding of Hong Zhuang's life. Fengbo country was a place that Hong Zhuang did not have a good impression of. Hong Zhuang was not willing to go to Fengbo country to compete for a place, so it was better to go with her to other dynasties. Listening to Xia Jiqing's answer, Bai Junyu was not surprised. Xia Jiqing had always regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as her best friend. Bailey Hongzhuang had been away for so many days, and Xia Jiqing had been thinking about her. Now it was normal for Xia Jiqing to wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to participate together. He had already expected this before. Then I'll wait with you for a few days. Bailey Hongzhuang will probably be back soon. Bai Junyu smiled faintly. He felt that it was good to have a chance to accompany Xia Jiqing for a few more days. Once one of them passed the test and participated in the selection, they wouldn't be able to see each other for a long time. When Gong Shaoqing and the others walked over and heard Bai Junyu's words, everyone immediately revealed ambiguous smiles. Although Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing had never broken through this layer of window paper, all of them had already tacitly agreed that the two were a couple. Gong Shaoqing, Dongfangyu, when are you planning to leave? Seeing Gong Shaoqing and Dongfangyu, Zhang Yunfeng asked curiously. Now that many people had begun to prepare, they couldn't stay at the school for too long. After all, once they missed it, it would be a big regret. Gong Shaoqing and Dongfangyu looked at each other and said, our thoughts are the same as Xia Jiqing's. Wait a few more days. If Hong Zhuang hasn't returned, we will leave. Chapter 1104. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen rushed all the way to Tiangang sect. Tiangang sect was far away, but Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen obviously would not care about the exhaustion during the journey. The closer to Tiangang sect, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart became calmer and calmer. With Di Beichen by her side, even if she reached Tiangang sect, there would be no danger. The only thing she needed to care about was Han Shiling's verbal attack on her. Hong Zhuang, Tiangang sect is in front. Di Beichen's handsome face outlined an elegant and charming smile, and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and from Di Beichen's expression, she could see his feelings for Tiangang sect, where he lived since he was a child. Even if there were some people in the sect who didn't like, he had great feelings for Tiangang sect. Looking in the direction pointed by Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang only saw the mountains in Sian. In addition, there were no buildings at all, let alone such a large sect as Tiangang sect. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised. Sects and major forces have always maintained a certain degree of concealment. If you don't know the way to enter the sect, you can't get in even if you stay here for 10 days or half a month. This is the camouflage of the sect and the means to protect the sect. Bailey Hongzhuang had a certain understanding of her previous life. There was also a camouflage outside the Bailey family, and only the cultivators of the Bailey family could enter. At that time, even some small villages near the Bailey family didn't even know that the famous Bailey family was not far from them. The camouflage of each sect was different. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang did not know where Tiangang sect was in the mountains. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled look, Di Beichen's smile widened a little. This is the camouflage of Tiangang sect. There is a small enchantment here that hides Tiangang sect. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Just from this enchantment can see the strength of Tiangang zone. After following Di Baichen for a while, Di Baichen finally stopped. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang saw Di Baichen's hands move continuously. Gradually, an energy rune appeared in his hands. In the next moment, Di Baichen pushed this energy rune forward. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that a rune that was exactly the same as Di Baichen's rune appeared in the air. As these two runes merged into one, the air suddenly set off a ripple, as if a transparent door gradually opened. A new world appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang saw a group of dense mountains, and on the largest mountain in the middle, a huge white building complex appeared in her sight. Obviously, that was Tiangang Sect. The dazzling golden sunlight shone on Tiangang Sect. The mysterious Tiangang Sect at this moment looked holy and mighty, making people feel reverence. It was like a paradise. Bailey Hongzhuang felt that the yuan power in the air here was much richer than the outside world. Looking at the familiar Tiangang Sect, Di Baichen's eyes were filled with a smile. Then he held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft hand. "Wife, let's go up." Chapter 1105. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen walked towards Tiangang Sect. The Tiangang Sect disciples guarding the foot of the mountain immediately revealed themselves when they saw Di Baichen. "Greetings, young sect master." The two of them bowed respectfully. From their attitude, it was obvious that they respected Di Baichen. However, the two of them couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang, and finally at Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, who were holding hands. "This is my wife." Noticing the two of them sizing her up, Di Baichen suddenly spoke out. The two disciples were stunned when they heard this. However, their reaction speed was extremely fast, and they immediately greeted respectfully. "Young sect master's wife." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Baichen in astonishment. She didn't expect Di Baichen to be so straightforward. However, Di Baichen winked and smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang before continuing to walk up the mountain. He brought Hongzhuang back this time to introduce Hongzhuang's identity to everyone and let everyone know that Hongzhuang was his wife. As for the other groundless rumors, they should have completely dissipated by now. He didn't want Hongzhuang to suffer any grievances and didn't want to make Hongzhuang feel uneasy. This simple and direct method was the best. After Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang left, the two disciples guarding the mountain couldn't help but be shocked. Looks like what senior sister Han said is indeed right. Young sect master really has someone he likes outside. However, according to what senior Han said, young sect master's wife is a woman who climbs up the social ladder. However, young sect master's wife doesn't seem to be like this. I think young sect master's wife is really beautiful. Even senior sister Han can't compare to her. The man's face was full of amazement. There had always been a lot of beauties in Tiangang sect, but Han Xiling was definitely the most outstanding one among many beauties. Normally, there were countless disciples who admired Han Xiling in the sect. Everyone knew that Han Xiling only had young Master Di in his heart. Although the others admired him, they could only watch from afar. Originally, they thought that young sect master had been agitated after staying outside for 3 years, which was why he found a woman to marry. But now, it seemed that this woman was outstanding in both appearance and temperament. She was a perfect match for the young sect master. Yeah, I think this woman isn't an ordinary person either, right? The two of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with emotions. However, they had no right to speak on this matter. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Di Baichen all the way to Tiangang sect. Tiangang sect's location was very high, but with their speed, they still arrived very quickly. The moment Di Baichen appeared in Tiangang sect, the entire Tiangang sect was in an uproar. Di Baichen was the disciple of the old sect master, the young sect master of Tiangang sect, and a famous young talent in the Shengxian continent. No matter from which angle, he was an existence that could not be ignored. Moreover, with Di Baichen's reputation in Tiangang sect, he had always been a person who could call the wind and summon the rain. Here, the female disciples regarded him as their dream lover, while the male disciples regarded him as their idol. In the past, Di Baichen had always stayed in Tiangang sect. Ever since that incident, Di Baichen had stayed outside for 3 years. Even now that Di Baichen's legs had been healed, he still rarely returned to the sect. Chapter 1106. For a long time, Bewitching had been the perfect lover in the hearts of all the female disciples of Tiangang sect. Although everyone knew that Han Xiling was interested in Bewitching, and the two were often together, according to the research of the female disciples, this was likely to be unrequited love. If Bewitching really liked Han Xiling, then they would have been together a long time ago. Why would they keep a certain distance from each other after knowing each other for so many years? Although Han Xiling usually had a cold and arrogant appearance, everyone could see the feelings for Bewitching. Then the reason for this was Bewitching. It was precisely because of this that everyone was also very curious about the woman Bewitching liked. They didn't know what kind of woman could capture his confidence. However, according to the recent news from the cultivators around Han Xiling, the woman was a woman who wanted to climb up the branch to become a phoenix. She used some methods to deceive Bewitching to obtain Bewitching's heart. In this regard, everyone instinctively felt disgusted with the woman. Bewitching was the most perfect man in their hearts. Now that he was occupied by such a woman who was not worthy at all, they were naturally unhappy. What made them feel most unacceptable was that Bewitching didn't even care about the matters of Tiangang sect in order to be with the woman. If it wasn't for an extremely important matter, Bewitching wouldn't have come back and had been accompanying the woman outside. Everyone who knew this also believed in Han Xiling's remarks. If the woman didn't use a shameful method to seduce Bewitching, why would Bewitching do this? These days, everyone learned that the selection competition was imminent. Bewitching was likely to bring Bailey Hongzhuang back. This news undoubtedly caused an uproar in Tiangang sect. For a long time, Bewitching had a great and tall image in everyone's mind. He never couldn't distinguish right from wrong. However, since the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, everything about Bewitching had become different from before. Now he actually intended to use his identity to let Bailey Hongzhuang stay in Tiangang sect. This was not in line with his previous style. When Bewitching held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and appeared in front of everyone, the disciples of Tiangang sect were stunned for a moment. They didn't expect Bewitching to really bring Bailey Hongzhuang back. However, the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat different from what everyone had imagined previously. According to their thoughts, since Bailey Hongzhuang could make Bewitching bewitched, her appearance wouldn't be bad. Therefore, everyone thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would grow up to be a seductive fox spirit. However, now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly not a fox spirit. That gorgeous face was enough to make any woman feel ashamed of her inferiority, and that cold and outstanding temperament revealed the demeanor of a great family. This kind of temperament couldn't be cultivated without a long time of nurturing. Moreover, the way she stood proudly beside Bewitching didn't make people feel that they were unsuitable. On the contrary, the two of them seemed to be a match made in heaven. Even their temperament had merged into one. She allowed Bewitching to hold her hand. Her beautiful and refined face was filled with calmness. Facing everyone's gaze, she was so calm and collected. Chapter 1107. Feeling everyone's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It seemed that Han Xiling really lived up to her expectations and created a lot of rumors for her in Tiangang sect. If Han Xiling hadn't interfered, she was afraid that these disciples wouldn't have revealed such an expression when they saw her. She didn't care about everyone sizing her up. The more she evaded, the more it would make everyone feel that she was guilty. On the contrary, the calmer she appeared, it would make everyone doubt Han Xiling's words. This time coming to Tiangang sect was a game between her and Han Xiling. Even though this was a place that Han Xiling was familiar with, it was still unknown who would win and who would lose in the end. This is Bailey Hongzhuang? No wonder young sect master is so fond of her. Such a beauty, which man wouldn't be tempted? The male disciples of Tiangang sect sized up Bailey Hongzhuang with excitement in their eyes. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang didn't say anything, they felt that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't as bad as Han Xiling said. The male disciples were far less easily misled by Han Xiling's remarks than the female disciples. In their view, young sect master's vision naturally wouldn't be bad. No matter from which aspect, young sect master was an impeccable existence, So the person that he liked definitely wouldn't be too bad. Otherwise, young sect master's heart would have long been hooked by a woman. How could he be indifferent to Han Xiling for so many years? Compared to the excitement of the male disciples, the female disciples snorted disdainfully. You guys only know how to judge people by their appearance. I think Senior Han is better than Bailey Hongzhuang. At least Senior Han's strength is very powerful. This Bailey Hongzhuang has no other redeeming qualities other than her appearance. If she didn't hook up with young sect master, she would just be a person in a small dynasty. Senior Sister Han's words are completely correct. Young sect head actually brought Bailey Hongzhuang here. If I let Bailey Hongzhuang stay in Tiangang sect like this, I can't accept it. The female disciples shook their heads one after another. They had all spent a lot of effort to become a disciple of Tiangang sect. If Bailey Hongzhuang did nothing and directly entered, it would make people feel unbalanced. Although the voices of the surrounding cultivators were soft, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen as cultivators could still hear them clearly. Di Beichen's eyebrows were tightly knitted. His handsome face was covered with a layer of displeasure, and his starry eyes were gloomy. Although he had already guessed that there would be many cultivators in the sect talking about Hongzhuang, he did not expect that Han Xiling would describe Hongzhuang in such a way. At this moment, Di Beichen truly understood that Han Xiling was not as simple as he had previously thought. He didn't know if it was because he had changed too much in the past few years, or because he had never paid attention to Han Xiling before. For him, he used to only cultivate and improve his cultivation at the request of his master. His biggest goal was to lead Tiangang sect to become stronger for his master. In addition, he had never taken the relationship between men and women to heart. Even if everyone said that he and Han Xiling were extremely compatible, he had never taken it seriously until he met Bailey Hongzhuang. It turned out that many things in this world were destined by fate. Before meeting the right person, everything was nothingness. But once you met, it was a real life. Chapter 1108. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang worriedly, only to see Bailey Hongzhuang smiling at him. She had already prepared for this kind of small trick when she came to Tiangang sect, so she didn't care at all. Moreover, it was useless even if she cared about this kind of thing. As long as she showed her strength, all these rumors would be dispelled. Rumors were sometimes a terrifying force, but when you didn't care at all, there would come a day when you would use the truth to give the other party a tight slap. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head at Di Beichen, indicating that she was fine. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance without any hidden sadness or pain, Di Beichen's heart was finally at ease. He also knew that these rumors weren't formed in a day or two. Even if he explained it now, it would be useless. On the contrary, it might have the opposite effect. Wife, let's go in first. Di Beichen said gently. All right. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips bloomed into an elegant smile like a green lotus. She nodded her head and followed Di Beichen in. Han Xiling was overjoyed when she heard the news of Di Beichen's return. Di Beichen had left this time, so she hadn't seen Di Beichen for several months. Miss, just as you guessed, young sect master came back with Bailey Hongzhuang. I heard that young sect master had been holding Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and hadn't let go. Obviously, he cares a lot about Bailey Hongzhuang. Tao Tsongrong said as she looked at Han Xiling's expression. Her face was filled with dissatisfaction and worry. Hearing this, Han Xiling's cold and arrogant face also curled into a sneer. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really brave. She actually dared to come to Tiangang sect with Brother Di. Does she really think that she is the mistress of Tiangang sect? Han Xiling narrowed her eyes, and a malicious and cold light flashed in her eyes. Last time, she lost face in front of Bailey Hongzhuang because of a moment of carelessness. This time, everyone in Tiangang sect was on her side. She would let Bailey Hongzhuang know the gap between them. An existence like her could never be compared to a grassroots woman like Bailey Hongzhuang. Di Dage wasn't someone Bailey Hongzhuang could reach. That Bailey Hongzhuang is naturally very shameless. She shamelessly followed us, but I believe that she will not appear in Tiangang sect soon. Tao Tsongrong's face was full of smiles. She had never seen any woman who could fight against Mississippi. Bailey Hongzhuang was naturally no exception. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang was really asking for humiliation. Miss did not intend to let her go this time. Han Xiling smiled and nodded. She had already thought about everything. Not to mention her status and reputation in Tiangang sect. Just the opposition of the elders was enough to give Brother D a headache. She did not believe that Brother D could still be stubborn under everyone's opposition. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, in a large force like Tiangang sect, it was impossible to have a foothold here without sufficient background and strength. She could only say that Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts were too naive. She only hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang could not collapse under such a blow. Chapter 1109. Hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, Han Xiling glanced coldly at Tao Tsongrong. Noticing Han Xiling's gaze, Tao Tsongrong immediately shut her mouth and did not dare to continue speaking. She almost forgot that the young mistress was most angry with the young sect master's attitude. She just wanted to stand up for the young mistress. Let's go out. Han Xiling's eyes were filled with coldness. She wanted to go out and welcome Bewitching. At this time she naturally had to appear. An excited smile appeared on Tao Tsongrong's face. She immediately followed behind Han Xiling and went out together. She also wanted to see what kind of sacred being Bailey Hongzhuang was to be able to charm such a person like the young sect master. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching went all the way forward. The Tiangang sect's area was also very large. Along the way, there were many Tiangang sect disciples. At this time, it was the time for the disciples to cultivate. With the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching, all the disciples paid attention to the two of them and constantly greeted Bewitching. Behind them, there were also many disciples who walked all the way here just to watch the show. After all, Han Xiling liked Bewitching. Now that Bewitching had returned with Bailey Hongzhuang, Han Xiling would definitely not miss it. Once Han Xiling and Bailey Hongzhuang met face to face, it would be a very lively event. Usually, most of the Tiangang sect disciples were cultivating, and there were not many lively events. Now that there was such a rare scene, everyone naturally did not want to miss it. Brother D. Just as the two of them were walking, suddenly, a cold and pleasant female voice came from not far ahead. Hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that there was no one else other than Han Xiling. Soon, a green figure gradually appeared in their line of sight. Han Xiling's outfit was the same as before. The light green dress set off her proud and cold temperament. Her beautiful face was filled with a faint smile. After seeing Bewitching, the smile deepened. The disciples present could not help but sigh when they saw Han Xiling appear. Han Xiling had always been the goddess in their hearts. Han Xiling is here. It will be lively in a while. Han Xiling's temperament is really amazing. A nice beauty, but Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament does not lose to Han Xiling. Everyone looked at each other. Before she arrived at the Tiangang sect, everyone thought that Han Xiling's temperament and appearance would definitely crush Bailey Hongzhuang. It was because of this that everyone felt that Bewitching did not have a good eye. However, now that the two women were standing close to each other, the crowd realized that the situation was not what they had imagined. Han Xiling's appearance was not the most outstanding. However, because of her cold and arrogant temperament, everyone felt that she was unattainable. On the contrary, it added a trace of indescribable charm. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and temperament had reached the pinnacle. Her perfect face could be said to be the dream lover in every man's heart. In terms of temperament, Han Xiling's temperament was simple. Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament, on the other hand, was ever-changing. When facing the crowd, she was cold and aloof. However, when facing Bewitching, she was charming and fragrant. Just based on this point, Bailey Hongzhuang had already won. Her appearance had already fulfilled every man's dream. Chapter 1110. Tao Tsongrong had intended to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a good lesson. How dare such an unpresentable woman shout at their young miss? She was simply courting death. However, when Tao Tsongrong saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she was at a loss for words. This Bailey Hongzhuang did not seem to match the young miss description. Her temperament was on par with the young miss. The so-called country bumpkin had nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Big Brother D, you're back. Han Shiling's beautiful face was filled with a joyful smile. She walked directly to Di Beichen's side and acted intimately, as if she had just seen her sweetheart return. She acted as if she did not notice Bailey Hongzhuang beside Di Beichen. She had completely ignored Bailey Hongzhuang. However, no one noticed the cold light that flashed in Han Shiling's eyes when she saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang holding hands. At this moment, she naturally did not want to lose to Bailey Hongzhuang. She immediately held Di Beichen's arm with one hand. Seeing Han Shiling's actions after she had appeared, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It was as if everything that Han Shiling had done had nothing to do with her. Han Shiling's actions were undoubtedly trying to make her unhappy by ignoring or even forcibly occupying her. Then, she would do something that would damage her image. If it was a 16-year-old girl, it was very likely that she would do such a trick. However, she would not. Noticing Han Shiling's actions, Di Beichen could not help but frown. When Han Shiling held his arm, he had already quietly pulled his hand away. Han Shiling's face instantly turned ugly. Di Beichen's attitude undoubtedly made her lose face in front of everyone. This scene naturally did not escape everyone's eyes. At this moment, everyone understood that all of this was true. Di Beichen did not like Han Shiling. He liked Bailey Hongzhuang. Big brother Di. Han Shiling looked at Di Beichen with some disappointment. She had never let go of her pride like this. However, Di Beichen actually treated her like this. It was really sad. Di Beichen understood the sadness in Han Shiling's heart. However, if he was indecisive, he would be in trouble. From the moment he pursued Bailey Hongzhuang, he had already decided to take responsibility for Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not want Han Shiling to continue to persist. Also, Shiling, this is your sister-in-law. Di Beichen introduced. As soon as these words came out, Han Shiling's face stiffened. The last time they met, Di Beichen was at least not so direct. However, this time, Di Beichen actually said such words in front of so many disciples of Tiangang sect. This completely destroyed her hope. Han Shiling's gaze could not help but fall on Bailey Hongzhuang. However, when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent expression and looked at her with a faint smile, her face turned even uglier. Big brother Du. Feeling everyone's gaze, Han Shiling really did not know what to say. She did not expect Di Beichen to be so decisive when they just met. This was completely different from the situation she imagined. When Tao Tsongrong saw the situation, she hurriedly spoke out. Young sect master, you obviously know how young Miss feels towards you. How can you be so heartless and say such things? Chapter 11:11. Following Tao Tsongrong's words, there was a moment of silence in the surroundings. Although everyone understood Han Shiling's feelings for Di Beichen, Han Shiling had never publicly admitted it. Now that Tao Tsongrong directly exposed all of this, there was no doubt that the matter had become clearer. Everyone's gaze fell on Di Beichen, but they didn't know how Di Beichen would answer. Bailey Hongzhuang was also somewhat helpless. This Han Shiling walking out now was undoubtedly asking for humiliation. She thought that Han Shiling would be smarter and use some tricks behind their backs. She didn't expect that when they just arrived at Tiangang sect, Han Shiling would make a big move in front of them. It was really unexpected. Songrong. Han Shiling frowned and glared at Tao Tsongrong. She, Han Shiling, had always been a high and mighty princess. How could she show such a humble begging appearance in front of everyone? Tao Tsongrong was startled, and then closed her mouth. Did she say something wrong again? Han Shiling's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang, and he immediately smiled and said, Miss Bailey, you're here too. Seeing that Han Shiling directly skipped Di Beichen's words, the cultivators present all looked at each other. Just from this attitude, they already understood. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and her gorgeous face was filled with an indifferent and polite smile. We meet again, Miss Han. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's dignified and elegant appearance, Han Shiling's eyes revealed a trace of anger. He didn't expect this Bailey Hongzhuang to be so good at pretending. She was obviously just an unfavored young lady from a small dynasty's general's residence, but she had to pretend to be a lady from a noble family. It was really disgusting. Although Han Shiling did not like Bailey Hongzhuang very much, the cultivators present did not feel that Bailey Hongzhuang was really a big shot. As soon as Han Shilling appeared, his attacks were clearly displayed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang remained calm and collected from start to finish. Comparing the two of them, it was clear who was the victor. If not for the fact that everyone was very clear about this, they would have thought that the identities of Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang had been swapped. After Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang greeted each other, the atmosphere suddenly stiffened. Although Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang were smiling on the surface, everyone knew that the two women had already ignited the flames of war. It was just that they didn't erupt in front of everyone. Bewitching frowned slightly. Just as he was about to break the deadlock, a deep and weathered voice sounded. "Young sect master, you're back." As this familiar and majestic voice sounded, everyone looked in the direction of the source of the voice. An old man in a white robe slowly appeared in front of everyone. The old man was 60 or 70 years old. Although his figure was stooped, his eyes were unusually bright, giving people a sense of majesty and experience. Seeing the person, Bewitching also said, "Great Elder." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood that this person was Han Shilling's grandfather, Tiangang sect's Great Elder. Han Hongyi. Greetings to Great Elder. Bailey Hongzhuang bowed. Since she had already come to Tiangang sect, she would do the necessary etiquette. Greetings to Great Elder. All the disciples present bowed. Han Hongyi's position in Tiangang sect was extremely high. When the young sect master was not in Tiangang sect, many things were decided by Han Hongyi. Chapter 11-12. Grandpa. Han Shilling called out softly. Her beautiful face showed a bit of grievance. Bewitching's actions today really made her feel very wronged. Now she only hoped that Han Hongyi could uphold justice for her. Han Hongyi glanced at Han Shilling, and his expression was somewhat helpless. He knew his granddaughter's temperament very well. Her heart was usually higher than the sky. Liking Bewitching was not a matter of 1 or 2 days. He always felt that Han Shilling and Bewitching were very compatible. Almost everyone thought that Han Shilling and Bewitching would definitely be a couple in the future. He did not expect it to become like this now. However, since it was the person his granddaughter liked, he would try his best to fulfill his granddaughter's wish. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were not compatible at all. Before, they did not say much because Bewitching had suffered for 3 years in Fengbo country. Now Bewitching was obviously serious about Bailey Hongzhuang. They could not let Bewitching continue to be like this. Han Hongyi's gaze fell on Bewitching's body and said, "Now go to the meeting hall. Everyone is waiting for you alone." Han Hongyi then looked at Han Shilling. "Shilling, you take Miss Bailey to her residence first." From beginning to end, Han Hongyi did not look at Bailey Hongzhuang. With Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, she was just a passerby of Tiangang sect. After this time, Bailey Hongzhuang would not set foot here again. He did not need to care. Noticing Han Hongyi's attitude, Bewitching frowned. Just from the attitude of the Great Elder, he already knew that the situation was very complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bewitching and said, "Go quickly." Bewitching left Tiangang sect for several months. And what happened during this period of time? He just listened to the news from outside. Now that he had returned, he was afraid that the elders would not be in a good mood. He indeed needed to explain himself. As for Han Hongyi's attitude, she didn't care either. Han Shilling was Han Hongyi's granddaughter. Naturally, Han Hongyi would side with Han Shilling. Thinking about it, it was probably her appearance that ruined their wishful thinking. So it was normal that Han Hongyi didn't like her. In the entire Tiangang sect, the only thing she cared about was the attitude of Master Bewitching. Other than that, no one else meant anything to her. Bewitching nodded slightly, and then he said to Han Shilling, "Shilling, you take Hongzhuang to my house first." Listening to Bewitching's words, Han Shilling's face turned ugly. Bewitching actually took Bailey Hongzhuang to his residence. Bewitching had always disliked others going to his residence. Even she had no chance to enter his house on weekdays. However, now he directly asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to his place. Just this point, the difference had already been obvious. Bewitching gave Bailey Hongzhuang a don't worry look before leaving with Han Hongyi. After Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang left, Han Shilling looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although she tried to maintain the arrogance on her face, Bailey Hongzhuang had already seen her anger. Han Shilling wanted to flare up, but she saw that many cultivators around were looking at them curiously. She could only say, "Follow me." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, and then followed Han Shilling to Di Beichen's residence. Chapter 11:13. Following the departure of Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Shilling, the crowd began to talk. Although the confrontation had only lasted for a short moment, everyone had already understood many things. At the very least, Bailey Hongzhuang had won the confrontation just now. Bailey Hongzhuang did not say anything, but Di Beichen had already expressed his attitude. Based on this point alone, Bailey Hongzhuang had already won. Looking at the situation, this seems to be senior sister Han's wishful thinking. Although this is the first time I've seen Bailey Hongzhuang, I feel that this Bailey Hongzhuang is not as bad as the rumors say. On the contrary, I feel that she's very noble and elegant. You can't believe all the rumors, but the elders might object. Let's see what their attitude is after this meeting. Everyone's eyes sparkled with excitement and curiosity. All along, Di Beichen and Han Shilling had been the center of everyone's conversation. Even if they had been living peacefully in the past, they could not help but talk about it. What more now that such a huge incident had happened? No matter what, I support the young sect leader. That's right, the person that the young sect leader likes is the young sect leader's wife. Many cultivators present supported Di Beichen. As the young sect leader of Tiangang sect, Di Beichen's reputation was naturally not low. When Di Beichen was forced to leave Tiangang sect due to pressure, most of the disciples in the sect were extremely dissatisfied. However, their demands could not be resisted by the four palace masters. In the end, Di Beichen still left. However, even if Di Beichen left, the other powerful successors were still unable to be compared to Di Beichen in their hearts. The young sect leader was the young sect leader, and no one could replace him. Now that they saw Di Beichen return, they were extremely excited. As for who Di Beichen liked, there was nothing wrong with that. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was nothing like the vixen that Tao Tsongrong described. Linking the two together, many people felt that Han Shilling was deliberately smearing Bailey Hongzhuang's reputation. His underhanded methods were already very obvious. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know what everyone was thinking. To her, their thoughts were not important. However, she was a little worried about Di Beichen. After all, there were still many people in Tiangang sect who coveted Di Beichen's position as the young lord. If those people had not joined forces to force Di Beichen to leave, Di Beichen would not have been forced to go to Fengbo country. Now that Di Beichen had returned, it was obvious that many people's dreams had been shattered. Naturally, they wanted to use this opportunity to deal with Di Beichen. Her appearance undoubtedly gave everyone a chance to attack. However, she believed in Di Beichen's strength. Those people who coveted things that did not belong to them would one day completely disappear from Tiangang sect. Master, this Han Shilling is coming aggressively. Xiao Hei's eyes darted around. Just from the way Han Shilling walked in front of her, she could see the anger in Han Shilling's heart. If it were not for the occasional appearance of cultivators along the way, Han Shilling would have exploded long ago. What's the use of her coming aggressively? Didn't she just embarrass herself in front of everyone? The real sect leader's wife is here. It's useless no matter how much trouble she makes. Xiao Bai appeared to be very calm. As long as Di Beichen's heart was with Bailey Hongzhuang, then everything was already set. Chapter 11:14. The area of Tiangang sect was extremely large. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang had to walk for a long time before she arrived at Di Beichen's residence. As the young lord of Tiangang sect, Di Beichen lived in a large palace. In the entire Tiangang sect, other than the lord, his residence was the most spacious. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Han Shilling into Di Beichen's residence. Just as she had imagined, a bamboo forest was located in the corner of the palace. The autumn wind rustled, and the bamboo leaves danced. As the young lord of Tiangang sect, Di Beichen's residence was not luxurious. However, it was elegant and peaceful. I've arrived. Thank you for leading the way, Miss Han. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke slowly with a faint smile on her lips. It was as if she was sending off a guest. When Han Shilling saw Bailey Hongzhuang acting like a hostess, her face instantly turned ugly. She could no longer maintain the elegant and noble facade on her face. Han Shilling gave Tao Tsongrong a look. Tao Tsongrong immediately understood and retreated to a spot not far away to help Han Shilling keep watch. Although there were usually no cultivators near the young lord's palace, based on everyone's curious attitude towards this matter, she could not guarantee anything. Moreover, if the young lord suddenly returned, she had to take precautions in advance. Seeing Han Shilling's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression remained the same. She looked at Han Shilling with a faint smile, waiting for Han Shilling to make his move. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent look, Han Shilling felt even angrier. She had always been the one who was calm and collected. No matter how the other girls fought, she was always the one who had an elegant attitude and watched the joke. However, when facing Bailey Hongzhuang became that person, which made her very depressed. She did not understand, whether it was identity, status, or strength, Bailey Hongzhuang could not be compared to her at all. Why could Bailey Hongzhuang still act so confident now? She hated Bailey Hongzhuang's cloud-like face the most. Logically speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang should be ashamed of her inferiority when she saw her. After knowing the gap between them, she did not even have the courage to compete. However, this woman did not have the slightest ability. Instead, she looked as if it was natural. This made Han Shilling extremely dissatisfied and even jealous. Bailey Hongzhuang had nothing, but D-Dage treated her like this. Just this point alone proved a lot of things. Do you think that you can become the mistress of Tiangang sect just because Big Brother likes you now? Han Shilling said coldly. When there were only the two of them around, she did not need to pretend at all. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Han Shilling indifferently. The corners of her lips curled slightly, and she smiled sweetly. Why not? Hearing this, Han Shilling was stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang's matter-of-fact attitude every time made her feel as if she did not know how to answer. Everything is far from as simple as you think. With your status, no one will agree. A sparrow turning into a phoenix is nothing but your fantasy. Reality will never be that simple. Han Shilling also revealed proudly. Her clear eyes were full of disdain. Clearly she was the real phoenix. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, she was born a sparrow who could not turn over. I didn't expect Miss Han to be so concerned about me. However, you don't need to worry about my matters. Chapter 11:15. She had seen many women like Han Shilling, who thought that they were great just because they had strength and beauty. If it were other women, they might not be Han Shilling's opponent, but this kind of drama was useless to her. Han Shilling thought that she was great, but it was nothing. In terms of status, she was just the granddaughter of an elder. She did not have enough background, nor was she the granddaughter of a sect master or the descendant of an aristocratic family. In terms of status, aside from Han Hongyi, Han Shilling was just a disciple of the Tiangang sect. In terms of strength, Han Shilling might not be much stronger than her. Do you think a guy like you is worthy of my concern? Han Shilling looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could not understand her words, she could only say it so that Bailey Hongzhuang could understand. Some people had to be slapped in the face. I also think that Miss Han is very annoying. Since we want to see each other hate each other, why don't we part here and feel a little better? Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about Han Shilling, turned around, and walked directly to Bewitching's house. She had not been involved in Bewitching's previous life, so she wanted to take this opportunity to understand Bewitching's previous life. As for Han Shilling, she was too lazy to argue with her. It did not make any sense at all. When she and Bewitching completely ignored Han Shilling could not make any waves. After all, this was the Tiangang sect, and she did not want to cause any trouble. If Han Shilling dared to do anything to her here, she did not mind letting Han Shilling know how to write the word regret. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was not moved by force or persuasion, Han Shilling was furious. She had never seen a woman like Bailey Hongzhuang, who made her feel like she was punching cotton. Creak. Bailey Hongzhuang opened the door of Bewitching's room. Leaving aside Han Shilling, she came to the Tiangang zone, where Bewitching had lived since he was a child. She was in a very good mood. How could Han Shilling let Bailey Hongzhuang off so easily? The moment she saw Bailey Hongzhuang enter the room, her eyes flashed with anger, and she immediately followed her in. All this while, even she had never had the chance to enter Big Brother D's house. How could she just watch as Bailey Hongzhuang openly entered? Bailey Hongzhuang, this Tiangang sect doesn't welcome you at all. If you know your place, you'd better leave immediately. Otherwise, once you're blasted out, it won't be an ordinary humiliation. Han Shilling's voice deepened. I know you want Brother D to clear your name. To tell you the truth, everyone in the meeting hall is against your engagement with Brother D. No matter how proud you are now, you're nothing but a joke in the end. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and her deep phoenix eyes bloomed with a dazzling brilliance. Han Shilling, what's the point of these underhanded methods of yours? Even if the entire Tiangang sect is against me being with D. Beichen, so what? He only has me in his heart, and you'll never be qualified. If you're flaunting your status in front of me, then let me tell you, I don't care about these things at all. If these things were really that important, you wouldn't have been unable to enter D. Beichen's heart after more than 10 years of hard work. Chapter 11:16. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were like a sharp knife stabbing fiercely into Han Shilling's heart. Faced with Bailey Hongzhuang's calm and confident demeanor, she only felt that she could not utter the arrogant words that filled her stomach. Indeed, if all of this was so important, Big Brother D would not have fallen for Bailey Hongzhuang at all. But it was precisely because of this that she could not accept it. Why was it that she was better than Bailey Hongzhuang in every way? Yet Big Brother D only had eyes for Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing that Han Shilling was standing in a daze on the spot, as if she had been provoked by her words, Bailey Hongzhuang began to size up D. Beichen's room. Han Shilling was not a skilled competitor. On the contrary, under the circumstances where she and D. Beichen were of the same mind, Han Shilling was nothing more than an annoying fellow to them no matter what she did. D. Beichen's bedroom was also simple but not monotonous. At first glance, it gave off a comfortable feeling, just like D. Beichen himself. Bailey Hongzhuang took a simple glance and understood the furnishings at a glance. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked to the study table. She saw that there seemed to be a painting on the table and could not help but feel curious, wondering which master's masterpiece it was. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang pulled out the painting and looked at it, she realized that the person in the painting was very familiar. The person in the painting was none other than herself. His phoenix eyes that were pitch black like ink were suffused with a wisp of surprise. This portrait was actually lifelike, and its charm was extremely vivid, causing one's eyes to light up. Master, this painting is really good. It must have been drawn by D. Beichen, right? Xiao Hei's eyes sparkled with surprise. This painting was just too lifelike. If the artist was not extremely familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang, he would not have been able to draw such a painting. Come to think of it, there should not be a second person other than D. Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang did not reply, but a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She also understood that only D. Beichen could draw such a painting. Han Shilling also saw this painting. Her cold and moving face instantly froze, and her expression became abnormally ugly. She never knew that Big Brother D could draw. Nor did she know that Big Brother D could draw people so vividly. In her impression, Big Brother D had always disdained to do such things. To Big Brother D, nothing was more important than cultivation. He would cultivate as long as he had the time. But now, he had drawn a portrait for Bailey Hongzhuang? Almost instantly, Han Shilling understood that this painting must have been drawn by D. Beichen when he returned to Tiangang sect. Could it be that D. Beichen had missed Bailey Hongzhuang so much just because he had been separated from her for a short period of time? Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's smile, Han Shilling only felt that it was extremely ironic. In the next moment, Han Shilling suddenly reached out and directly reached for the painting. She wanted to destroy this thing. Seeing Han Shilling's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang was extremely quick. She immediately took the painting back and stopped Han Shilling from destroying it. However, Han Shilling did not give up. She wanted to completely destroy this thing. Han Shilling, don't go overboard. Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black eyes were cold and emotionless. Her low and cold voice was filled with warning. Chapter 11:17. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had reacted so quickly, Han Xiling was a little surprised. Logically speaking, with Bailey Hongzhuang's abilities, she shouldn't have been able to react so quickly. However, Han Xiling didn't think too much about it. Bailey Hongzhuang's actions had made her extremely unhappy. She definitely couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang continue to be so complacent. Even if she couldn't have Bewitching, she definitely wouldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang have it. Then, Han Xiling threw a punch at Bailey Hongzhuang. Since Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know what was good for her, she would use her abilities to show Bailey Hongzhuang just how big the gap between them was. When Bailey Hongzhuang decided to make her an enemy, she was already digging her own grave. Seeing that Han Xiling had shed all pretense of cordiality and attacked her directly, Bailey Hongzhuang's deep almond-shaped eyes were filled with a fierce light. In the next moment, the primary energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's body began to surge. When facing an enemy, she would never be afraid. Bang! Both of their fists collided fiercely. The energy ripples instantly spread out in waves. Feeling the immense power in her fist, Han Xiling's eyes flashed with astonishment and shock. Her heart was in a perilous situation. Orange level 1? Han Xiling exclaimed in shock. Her pretty face was filled with disbelief. When she first met Bailey Hongzhuang at the Luoyin Mountains, there was still a huge gap between her and Bailey Hongzhuang's abilities. In her opinion, it was a gap that couldn't be crossed. However, only half a year had passed and Bailey Hongzhuang's abilities had increased by so much? This was impossible. Han Xiling's first reaction was to think that this was not real. However, the power that Bailey Hongzhuang displayed could not be faked. While Han Xiling understood Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, Bailey Hongzhuang also had a better understanding of Han Xiling's strength. Orange rank 5. With Han Xiling's age, this level of cultivation was indeed very outstanding. However, Han Xiling grew up in the Tiangang sect and had an abundance of cultivation resources. In comparison, he didn't seem that powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang believed that as long as she was given more time, she would definitely surpass Han Xiling. How did your strength suddenly increase so much? Han Xiling couldn't help but ask. The difference in strength between her and Bailey Hongzhuang was huge. How did it shrink so much in such a short time? This made her, who was originally full of confidence, suffer another blow. You must know that Bailey Hongzhuang was younger than her. Why should I tell you? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a cold smile. However, her heart was filled with dissatisfaction. She had tried her best to increase her cultivation, but there was still a gap of 4 levels between her and Han Xiling. This made her very unhappy. After Xiao He and Xiao Bai found out about Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts, they felt helpless. Master, the speed of your breakthrough is already heaven-defying. After all, you've only been cultivating for less than 2 years. Han Xiling has been cultivating for so many years. If you can catch up to Han Xiling in 2 years, then Han Xiling can really go and die. No matter where, as long as Bailey Hongzhuang's improvement was revealed, everyone would be shocked. Chapter 11:18. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that her progress during this period of time was already pretty good. She could only blame herself for cultivating for such a short period of time. What method did Big Brother D use to increase your cultivation? Han Xiling frowned. There were indeed some methods to increase one's cultivation in this world. However, these methods would cause harm to the cultivator's foundation. Although one's cultivation could not be increased by much in a short period of time, once it has been increased, one's future potential would be limited. Logically speaking, based on Big Brother D's feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang, he should not have allowed Bailey Hongzhuang to use such a method. However, if one were to say that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had been increased by her own cultivation, she simply could not believe it. After all, her rate of improvement was already very outstanding in the Tiangang sect. Grandfather had even told her that as long as she maintained this rate of improvement, she would definitely become a famous cultivator in the Shengxian continent in the future. However, if Bailey Hongzhuang's rate of improvement was faster than hers, Wouldn't that mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was superior? Naturally, Han Xiling could not believe this. After much thought, Han Xiling could only think of one possibility. Bailey Hongzhuang had secretly used some method to forcefully increase her cultivation. In this way, everything could be figured out. In order to be worthy of Big Brother D, Bailey Hongzhuang had not hesitated to sacrifice her own potential to increase her own cultivation. At the thought of this, Han Xiling's sneer could not help but widen. Bailey Hongzhuang, based on your cultivation talent, you are not worthy of Big Brother D. Even if you had used some method of sacrificing your potential to forcefully increase your cultivation, you would only be able to shorten the distance between you and him in a short period of time. However, without your potential, you will only need a few years before the gap between the two of you will be completely revealed. When that time comes, Big Brother D will hate you. Han Xiling smiled complacently. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so stupid as to use such a method. It seemed that she had overestimated Bailey Hongzhuang's ability. Hearing Han Xiling's words, Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect Han Xiling to come up with such a conclusion. You're thinking too much, Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. There were indeed many cultivators on the Shengxian continent who would use this method, but she was definitely not one of them. She clearly knew how important potential was. It was never her principle to only focus on immediate benefits and ignore long-term benefits. However, Han Xiling did not believe what Bailey Hongzhuang said. You don't have to hide it. I already know what kind of person you are. Han Xiling crossed his arms in front of his chest. The hatred that had originally seeped deep into his bones had quietly dissipated a little, and he appeared to be very relaxed. As long as I tell everyone about this, your value will not be much higher than that trash from before. Seeing how confident Han Xiling was, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little helpless. People like Han Xiling who thought of themselves as high and mighty always believed that their judgment was correct. Han Xiling, who had originally been prepared to attack, gave up at this moment because Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer her opponent. Has anyone ever told you that you are very stupid? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Han Xiling helplessly and mockingly. With Han Xiling's intelligence, it would be strange if he could catch up to Bewitching. Chapter 11:19. As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Han Xiling's face became gloomy, and her gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang was filled with anger. You dare to say that I'm stupid? Han Xiling stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with a burning gaze. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, the situation was completely under the control of Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang dared to say that she was stupid? Looking at Han Xiling's furious appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. What's the problem? Do you know my identity? As long as I want you to die, you will definitely die a horrible death. Han Xiling's eyes flashed with a cold light. Bailey Hongzhuang's self-righteous appearance made her extremely unhappy, but in the face of the former's eloquent words, she actually couldn't fight back. Other than using this to suppress me, do you have any other tricks? You're just an elder's granddaughter. I don't believe that you can cover the sky with one hand in Tiangang sect. Bailey Hongzhuang's face became colder. Han Xiling had been looking for trouble, and she also lost her patience. Han Xiling's mistemper didn't have any deterrence to her. If Han Xiling really dared to make a move on her, she wouldn't have talked nonsense until now. In Tiangang sect, both of them were the focus of everyone's attention. No matter who was in trouble, it couldn't be related to the other. What's more, didn't you already send assassins to deal with me? It's just that the assassins you sent aren't strong enough. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were as cold as ice, and her words were even more aggressive. Han Xiling wasn't a kind person. When they met once, Han Xiling didn't hesitate to send assassins to deal with her. However, even if Han Xiling wanted to kill her, it would not be that easy. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had directly revealed this matter, Han Xiling's expression suddenly changed. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock and bewilderment. What nonsense are you talking about? At that time, she did find a mission to assassinate Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Shirtian Pavilion never sent any news, so she did not take it to heart. Later, When she found out that the first wave of assassins had been defeated, her mood changed. When Bewitching went to look for Bailey Hongzhuang, she knew that she had no chance to make a move. She had been waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to be alone. However, Bewitching was always by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, so this idea could only be put aside for the time being. However, what puzzled her the most was that the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion later sent a message saying that they refused to accept this mission. For this reason, the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion directly returned double the commission to her. For this point, Han Xiling couldn't understand it. The Heaven Slaughter Pavilion had always accepted all kinds of missions. Even for some extremely powerful cultivators, Shirtian Pavilion had never heard that they had no way to deal with them. Only some people with special identities would be rejected by the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not special at all. She really didn't understand why the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion would refuse. Even if Bewitching was by Bailey Hongzhuang's side, as long as the two of them were separated, it was not difficult for the Heaven Slaughter Pavilion to take the life of an Orange Realm Level 1 cultivator. Seeing Han Xiling's secretive appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a sneer. Now that things have come to this, what's there to not admit? It's a pity that your methods are not enough. I still came. Chapter 1120. When this thought surfaced, Han Xiling had already erased it. With Bailey Hongzhuang's status, she might not even know about the existence of Shirtian Tower. So how could she have anything to do with Shirtian Tower? After thinking about it, Han Xiling could only conclude that Bewitching was the one who solved this matter. After all, Bewitching's status was also very important. If Bewitching had stepped in, then Shirtian Tower might have given up on this business deal. Thinking of this possibility, Han Xiling's face turned a little ugly. In that case, didn't it mean that Big Brother D also knew about her actions? Han Xiling couldn't help but think of Bewitching's cold attitude towards her. At this moment, she completely understood. Bailey Hongzhuang, did you tell Big Brother D about this matter? Han Xiling's face was gloomy, her hands clenched into fists under her sleeves. All this time, she had maintained an excellent image in front of Big Brother D. However, after this incident, her image in Big Brother D's heart would be greatly reduced. And all of this was because of Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at Han Xiling's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang had already understood Han Xiling's thoughts. If you don't want others to know, then don't do it. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't want to explain. This was the truth. When Han Xiling did this, she should have known the consequences of failure. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang indirectly admit to this matter, Han Xiling's expression became even uglier. In the next moment, the elemental energy in Han Xiling's body surged out. Her black eyes were filled with an extreme storm of anger. She couldn't wait to skin Bailey Hongzhuang and pull out her tendons. I'm going to kill you, Han Xiling roared. At this moment, she couldn't care about anything else. She only wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling Han Xiling's murderous aura, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also turned cold. The elemental energy in her body also spread out. She and Han Xiling had long disliked each other. This conflict was unavoidable. A trace of silver light quietly appeared between her white and moist fingers. Although her current strength couldn't be compared to Han Xiling, there were many other factors besides strength in a real fight. It was absolutely not impossible for her to defeat Han Xiling. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were also ready to go. They were already very unhappy with Han Xiling. If it wasn't for their master wanting to solve Han Xiling, they would have already made Han Xiling regret living in this world. They also understood Master's thoughts very well. Master had many tricks up her sleeves. Just the use of poison alone was something that many people couldn't compare to. Han Xiling was simply courting death by competing with Master. However, Master didn't want to use such methods to get rid of Han Xiling. Master wanted to defeat Han Xiling fair and square in front of everyone, so that everyone would know that Master's strength wasn't inferior to Han Xiling's. Therefore, they had been holding back and not making a move. Master had always intended to wait until she returned from the selection competition before fighting Han Xiling face to face in Tiangang sect. She didn't expect Han Xiling to be so infuriated that he had already exploded. The battle between the two was on the verge of breaking out. However, just as the two were about to collide, Tao Tsongrong ran in from outside in a panic. "Miss, Great Elder asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to the meeting hall," Tao Tsongrong shouted. Chapter 1121. Meeting Hall. Di Beichen, the four hall masters and the elders frowned slightly. "What do the four hall masters and elders want to talk to me about?" "Young sect master, you came back too late this time." Han Hongyi frowned. Every selection competition was a very important matter to the sect, and all the major sects needed to discuss the specific matters. Di Beichen came back late for this matter, and they were naturally dissatisfied. However, in the face of Han Hongyi's sigh, Di Beichen was unmoved. "As far as I know, the discussion of the selection competition will begin 3 days later, and the location of the discussion is not far from Tiangang sect. Isn't Great Elder making a fuss over nothing by saying this?" Di Beichen was calm, and his tepid words were full of warning and ridicule. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Han Hongyi was slightly stunned, and then fell into silence. He did not know that Di Beichen had already known so much about the selection competition. "Young sect master, what do you mean by bringing Bailey Hongzhuang back to the sect this time?" Azure Dragon Hall Master Xiao Hongzhen asked slowly. "Hongzhuang is my wife. What's wrong with me bringing her back?" Di Beichen asked matter-of-factly. Xiao Hongzhen frowned slightly, and a look of dissatisfaction flashed in his eyes. "You're simply fooling around. What do you mean, Hall Master Xiao?" Di Beichen looked at Xiao Hongzhen indifferently with a mild expression. All along, Xiao Hongzhen wanted to support his proud disciple Ji Yangxia to become the young sect master of Tiangang sect. As a result, his relationship with Xiao Hongzhen was not good. If not for Xiao Hongzhen's urging, he would not have left Tiangang sect. The reason why he left Tiangang sect in the past was because he could not stand up. In that case, even he could not guarantee whether he could stand up again in the future. He did not want his master's Tiangang sect to be affected because of him. Under such circumstances, he chose to leave. Now that he had stood up, he would not let Xiao Hongzhen continue to be as arrogant as before. "You are the dignified young sect master of Tiangang sect. You actually took an unknown girl as your wife. Wouldn't this make the entire Tiangang sect become a joke in everyone's eyes?" Xiao Hongzhen sneered. Originally, he thought that Di Beichen's return would threaten them a lot. He didn't expect that after Di Beichen's return, things would become more and more unreliable. In particular, Di Beichen was so stubborn that he wanted to be with an ordinary woman. Wasn't this a joke? If Di Beichen and Han Xiling were together, then with the support of the first elder, he really wouldn't be able to do anything to Di Beichen. However, Di Beichen had chosen to do so. Wasn't that the same as creating an opportunity for him? Palace Master Xiao is right. Young sect master, your actions have a great impact on Tiangang sect, White Tiger Palace Master Jiang Yi said. Hearing this, Di Beichen's gaze quietly swept past Jiang Yi. Azure Dragon Palace Master and White Tiger Palace Master had always been on good terms. Xiao Hongzhen and Jiang Yi also belonged to the same camp. Now that Xiao Hongzhen was making trouble, Jiang Yi would naturally agree from the side. Di Beichen chuckled. "I don't know how much impact this will have on Tiangang sect. The two palace masters are thinking too seriously." Chapter 1122. Could it be that the two temple masters think that my ability is not enough to be the sect master of Tiangang sect, and need to find a prominent girl to marry? Di Beichen slammed his palm on the table. His handsome face was covered with a layer of ice at the moment, and he looked at Xiao Hongzhen and Jiang Yi unkindly. Seeing Di Beichen's attitude, Xiao Hongzhen and Jiang Yi were also slightly startled. Although they were extremely dissatisfied, they could not continue to speak. After all, Di Beichen was the real young master of Tiangang sect. We naturally dare not question the ability of the young sect master. Jiang Yi said aloud. "That's good. I don't need the two temple masters to worry about my private affairs." Di Beichen's face was slightly cold, and he did not give any face to the two temple masters at all. He had left Tiangang sect for 3 years, and Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi's self-confidence had also swelled. Now, although he had regained the position of young sect master, these two people were no longer as humble as before, which made him extremely dissatisfied. However, these problems could not be solved in a short time. It would take some time for him to uproot the two temple masters, Xiao Hongjin and Jiang Yi. However, he believed that it was only a matter of time. Young sect master. When the sect master left, he asked us to help you manage Tiangang sect. Don't you think you've gone too far? Xiao Hongjin looked unfriendly, and the depths of his eyes were surging with an unwilling light. When the sect master left, he felt that it was an excellent opportunity. As long as Bewitching lost the qualification to inherit the position of sect master, then it would be much easier for Ji Yangxia to become the young sect master. Even if he could not become the sect master, as long as Ji Yangxia became the sect master in the future, his status would be unparalleled. However, before he could do anything, Bewitching could no longer stand up. At first, he suspected that Bewitching was faking it, but Bewitching had stayed in Fengbo country for so long. He had long believed that Bewitching would never return to Tiangang sect in this lifetime. Who would have thought that he would actually come back now? Most importantly, Bewitching had also changed a lot in the past 3 years. His thinking had become more meticulous, and his methods had become more outstanding, making it difficult for him to find an opportunity to attack him. That little sapling from back then had now grown into a big tree. It was no longer that easy to pull it down. Hearing this, Bewitching chuckled. Palace Master Xiao, please remember your identity. Other than my master, no one else has the right to say anything about my marriage. Seeing that Bewitching's words were so domineering and decisive, Xiao Hongjin's face turned ugly. He did not expect that Bewitching would not give him any face. Just as Xiao Hongjin was about to continue speaking, Vermilion Bird Palace Master Qinai spoke up. Palace Master Xiao, since this is the young sect master's private matter, you don't have to say anything more. After all, our Tiangang sect does not need a marriage alliance. If you say that, it will make our Tiangang sect seem weak. Qinai's casual words were simple, but he was helping Bewitching. Xiao Hongjin looked at Qinai with dissatisfaction. Qinai always had a smile on his face, but he knew that this guy was not someone to be trifled with. Seeing that Qinai had already expressed his stance, Xiao Hongjin did not say anything more. If he continued, he would only be asking for a snub. Chapter 1123. Seeing that Bewitching was about to leave, Han Hongyi couldn't help but frown. He found that since Bewitching came back from Fengbo country, he had changed a lot from the past. In this regard, Han Hongyi was not unable to understand. After all, when Bewitching was forced to leave Tiangang sect, his heart must be full of unwillingness and anger. Speaking of which, they didn't trust Bewitching enough at the beginning. Otherwise, Bewitching would not have such an attitude now. Wait, Han Hongyi suddenly said. Bewitching's gaze fell on Han Hongyi's body, and his obsidian-like black eyes flashed with a touch of light. Great Elder, is there anything else? Young sect master, over the years, you should know Shiling's feelings for you. At this point, Han Hongyi had to come forward for Han Shiling. Han Shiling liked Bewitching for a long time, but now Bewitching seemed to be determined to be with Bailey Hongzhuang. He naturally couldn't watch the person his granddaughter liked be taken away by others. Seeing Han Hongyi mention this matter, Xiao Hongjin's eyes also lit up. This was a great opportunity. As long as Bewitching completely offended Han Hongyi, then as long as the sect master did not come back, Bewitching would have a lot of difficulty dealing with Tiangang sect. Yes, Xiling is much better than Bailey Hongzhuang in any way. What's more, we watched Xiling grow up since she was a child, and she is your childhood sweetheart. Why do you want to hurt Xiling's heart like this? Xiao Hongjin frowned, and there was a bit of disappointment in his expression. He pretended to be a senior, who really thought for the younger generation. Bewitching lazily glanced at Xiao Hongjin's hypocritical appearance. For this guy, he even felt that it was a waste of time to say a word. Great Elder, I know Xiling's feelings, I'm sorry. Bewitching said slowly. In addition to saying sorry, he couldn't say anything else. In this case, It didn't make any sense to say anything else. Seeing Di Beichen say such words without hesitation, Han Hongyi's brows were already twisted together. Today he also saw Bailey Hongzhuang. He had to admit that this Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and temperament was superb. Even so, he did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang was better than Xi Ling's. What's more, Di Beichen and Xi Ling grow up together since childhood. Could their friendship for so many years to know Bailey Hongzhuang? What's to be wrong? Han Hongyi to ask. Di Beichen's deep eyes flashed a touch of deep light, and his words revealed a bit of emotion. Great Elder, there is nothing wrong with Xi Ling, but she is not the person I want. This kind of thing was never a question of whether it was good or not, but a question of whether it was right. Han Hongyi stared at Di Beichen with a burning gaze. He wanted to know more from Di Beichen's expression, but he only saw firmness in Di Beichen's eyes. After understanding this, Han Hongyi's heart was also cold. He didn't know why Di Beichen was so persistent, but in such a case, Xi Ling was really hopeless. Young sect master, Xi Ling and you are a match made in heaven, but Bailey Hongzhuang is really unjustified. Even if our Tiangang sect doesn't care about background, personal strength is extremely important. Chapter 1124. Jiang Yi's words were undoubtedly a bombshell in the meeting hall. Everyone's eyes fell on Di Beichen. Even someone as calm as Qin Ai had an incredulous look on his face when he heard the news. Although Tiangang sect did not discriminate between sects, as the young sect master of Tiangang sect, he should at least have outstanding strength. As for trash, that was something that was simply unacceptable. What did you say? Bailey Hongzhuang is trash? Han Hongyi repeated Jiang Yi's words in disbelief. He did not investigate Bailey Hongzhuang's identity too much. In fact, before Di Beichen brought Bailey Hongzhuang back, he had always thought that Di Beichen was just being impulsive and fooling around. It was nothing at all. Naturally, he would not bother to inquire about the news. However, when he saw Di Beichen's affectionate and determined look when he mentioned Bailey Hongzhuang, he understood that Di Beichen was not being impulsive. He had really fallen in love with Bailey Hongzhuang. Qin Ai's gaze also fell on Di Beichen. He had always admired Di Beichen and supported Di Beichen's decisions. Even if Di Beichen's wife was not famous in the Shangxian continent, he had never objected. However, if Bailey Hongzhuang was really a trash who could not cultivate, then he really could not accept it. Tiangang sect had always respected strength. If the sect master's wife was an ordinary woman who did not even have the strength to truss a chicken, once the news spread, it would really be a joke. Not only that, but judging from Di Beichen's performance, Bailey Hongzhuang occupied a very important position in his heart. If Bailey Hongzhuang could not protect herself, then Bailey Hongzhuang would undoubtedly become Di Beichen's weakness. They would not allow such a weakness to exist. She's not trash. Di Beichen furrowed his brows and glanced at Jiang Yi with an unfriendly look. Her cultivation talent is outstanding, there is no doubt about it. Although Hongzhuang had always been called trash, he knew that Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was extremely outstanding. He even felt that Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was stronger than his. Just this time, Hongzhuang's improvement in the Bloodground Abyss was already amazing. As long as Hongzhuang was given enough time, she would definitely become famous in the Shangxian continent in the future. Young sect master, please don't lie to protect Bailey Hongzhuang. Jiang Yi pretended to be worried. Xiao Hongzhen and Jiang Yi glanced at each other quietly. Both of them looked proud of themselves. The older the wiser. It was not as if they were unaware of what Di Beichen had done after his return. It would not be easy for Di Beichen to remove their strength. On the contrary, they would constantly cause trouble for Di Beichen. I'm telling the truth, Di Beichen said in a low voice. Palace Master Jiang is overthinking things. Han Hongyi and Qin Ai glanced at each other and said, let's invite Bailey Hongzhuang over first. Han Hongyi and Qin Ai both knew that Jiang Yi was not convinced by Di Beichen, but they also knew that Jiang Yi would not say such things without evidence. No matter what, they needed to confirm it first. Just as Han Hongyi was about to send someone to invite Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen's voice suddenly rang out. Wait! As soon as these words came out, Everyone's eyes fell on Bewitching. Chapter 1125. Bewitching pursed his thin lips. His expression was unfathomable, and his eyes were deep and cold. In 3 years, Tiangang sect had indeed changed a lot. He was no longer the young child from before. Han Hongyi's actions were tantamount to questioning his decision. As the young lord of Tiangang sect, his words were not to be doubted. As Bewitching's voice fell, Han Hongyi and the others were all stunned. They never forgot that Bewitching was the young lord of Tiangang sect, and his right to speak was far higher than theirs. Unconsciously, they thought that Bewitching was the young lord from 3 years ago, who needed their help to make decisions. Now Bewitching was completely different from before. Now he could make all decisions by himself. We dare not. Han Hongyi and the others bowed one after another under Bewitching's imposing manner. When the sect master was not in the sect, the young lord represented the sect master. Bewitching's gaze swept over Han Hongyi and the others, and finally fell on Jiang Yi. Hall Master Jiang, Hong Zhuang is now my wife, and also the wife of the young lord of Tiangang sect. You should know what kind of punishment you will receive for slandering the wife of the young lord. His cold gaze was like an ice blade that shot straight at Bewitching. He had long disliked Jiang Yi and Jiang Yi. He had planned to wait until Hong Zhuang participated in the selection competition before he dealt with them. But since Jiang Yi could not hold back now, he would not be polite. The low and warning words exploded in Jiang Yi's ears, and Jiang Yi's face instantly turned ugly. Bewitching had now completely put on the airs of the young lord, but in terms of identity, he could not refute Bewitching at all. Since you don't believe it, I'll let you see the truth with your own eyes, but you must be mentally prepared for this punishment. If such a statement appears again in the future, I will hold you accountable. Bewitching's voice was resolute and powerful. He immediately waved his hand, and that person hurried out of the meeting hall to inform Bailey Hongzhuang. His wife had always been his pride. Since these fellows dared to question Hongzhuang, then he would let everyone know the truth. From now on, no one would dare to question her again. Jiang Yi's face was gloomy, and his eyes flashed with a malicious and resentful light. Although Bewitching spoke with certainty, he did not believe him. The news he received was definitely not fake. Otherwise, Bewitching would not be so angry. Han Hongyi was also bewildered. Jiang Yi's words couldn't be groundless, but Bewitching's resolute expression didn't seem to be joking. The selection competition was imminent, but Bewitching brought Bailey Hongzhuang back to Tiangang sect. Could it be that he wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to stay in Tiangang sect in the future? For a moment, the entire meeting hall quieted down. Everyone's thoughts were different. They could only wait for Bailey Hongzhuang to come before they would know. With the appearance of Tao Tsongrong, the fight between Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang was forced to stop. Han Shilling looked at Tao Tsongrong in puzzlement. You said that grandfather asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to the meeting hall? Tao Tsongrong immediately nodded. I just received news that Bailey Hongzhuang is to go to the meeting hall immediately. Chapter 1126. Go to the meeting hall. Consider yourself lucky this time. You won't be so lucky next time. Han Shilling said coldly. Hearing Han Shilling's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a mocking smile. You're the lucky one. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be bothered with Han Shilling, and immediately walked out of Bewitching's house. Thinking about it, what awaited her in the meeting hall was yet another hangmen banquet. She could mostly guess what those old fellows in the sect were thinking. As for the situation in Tiangang sect, Bewitching had also explained it to her. Among the 4 halls, the Azure Dragon Hall and White Tiger Hall's hall masters were disloyal. Usually, they would think of ways to deal with Bewitching in hopes of making Ji Yangxia the young sect master. The Vermilion Bird Hall and Black Tortoise Hall's hall masters supported Bewitching. The Great Elder was not part of the 4 halls, and also had a lot of strength. Back then, when the sect master left, Bewitching was only a 15-year-old youth. At that time, he put all his energy into cultivation, and didn't have enough understanding of the sect's affairs. The sect master's departure was very sudden. At that time, he took over Tiangang sect with the help of the Great Elder and the 4 hall masters. However, although his talent wasn't weak at that time, he was too young. It wasn't easy to rely on his own strength to stabilize his position. Bewitching left Tiangang sect, mainly because of the Azure Dragon Hall and White Tiger Hall's hallmasters. Now, although Bewitching wanted to uproot these two people from Tiangang sect, it wasn't something that could be done overnight. Thinking about it, her appearance today gave these two people a good opportunity to make a big fuss out of nothing. Master, I feel that Han Shiling's grandfather isn't a good person. They'll probably target you in the meeting hall, right? Xiao Hei's eyes were filled with worry. Annoying people were everywhere. From the first time it saw Han Hongyi, it felt that Han Hongyi wasn't a good person. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and bright eyes were filled with ease and indifference. She said indifferently, "Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Even if they really want to target me, they can't do anything with Bewitching around." She understood that if Bewitching wanted to completely control the entire Tiangang sect, he had to get rid of these old stubborn people. But now, she didn't mind going with Bewitching to solve it. After all, Bewitching's identity as young lord was enough to make them not dare to act rashly. Those old fellows will definitely use this as an excuse to make a fuss, but I believe that master can make them even more unhappy. Whitey rubbed its fists, and its eyes flickered with a few strands of excitement. It was very clear about its master's methods of slapping people's faces. It was not an easy task to bully master. Even if those old fellows wanted to do this, it would be very difficult. Get rid of them all. Xiaobai waved its two claws. Get rid of all those people who don't like it. There's no room for discussion. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. A thoughtful look flashed across her eyes, as if she was seriously considering Xiaobai's words. If it really doesn't work, then get rid of them all. It wasn't easy for Bewitching to get rid of some annoying fellows. However, killing people was never a complicated matter. Even if these old fellows were very powerful, it would be very difficult for her to make a move without anyone noticing. But it wasn't impossible. Chapter 11:27. What's the problem? Han Shiling's voice was icy cold. If it had not been for Tao Tsongrong's sudden appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang would have become a corpse by now. Looking at Han Shiling's nonchalant manner, Tao Tsongrong's eyes were filled with helplessness. My lady, if Bailey Hongzhuang dies, won't you become a murderer? Previously, young sect master had specially asked you to bring Bailey Hongzhuang here, because he had determined that you would not be able to do anything. Bewitching liked Bailey Hongzhuang so much, so naturally, he would not allow anything to happen to Bailey Hongzhuang in Tiangang sect. He clearly knew that Han Shiling and Bailey Hongzhuang did not have a good relationship, but he still asked Han Shiling to bring Bailey Hongzhuang here. This was because if anything were to happen to Bailey Hongzhuang, it would definitely be Han Shiling's responsibility. If someone else had brought Bailey Hongzhuang here, Han Shiling would only need to play some tricks, and she would not be implicated at all. However, this would not work now. She thought that her lady had already understood this point. At this time, she would at most lecture Bailey Hongzhuang verbally, so that Bailey Hongzhuang would retreat in the face of difficulties. Who would have thought that her lady would actually make a move? Hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, Han Shiling was stunned. She had not thought of this. Previously, she had been too angry with Bailey Hongzhuang's actions to the extent that she had only wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang disappeared from this world, this matter would be resolved once and for all. At this moment, after hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, she finally understood and could not help but feel a lingering fear. If she had really killed Bailey Hongzhuang, she was afraid that Big Brother D would no longer care about her. Even though Han Shiling was a little emotional, he did not show it on his face. Since Bailey Hongzhuang has already gone to the conference hall, why don't we also go to the conference hall to take a look? Grandpa has always known her feelings. This time Bewitching brought Bailey Hongzhuang back with great fanfare. She was afraid that the whole Tiangang zone was looking at her as a joke. She believed that her grandfather would not sit idly by. Now that everyone in the meeting hall was definitely against Bailey Hongzhuang becoming Big Brother D's wife, she naturally could not miss such a good show. Since Bailey Hongzhuang did not believe what she said, Then she would see if Bailey Hongzhuang could still be so calm when everyone else said the same thing. Master, that Han Xiling is following behind us. Xiao He turned around to look at Han Xiling, who was behind her. Her feelings towards this woman who appears aloof on the surface, but has a vicious heart, could no longer be described with the word loathing. This Hungmen banquet would definitely become more complicated with Han Xiling's participation. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head slightly. When she saw the two figures behind her, the cold smile on the corners of her lips deepened. She was the one who had caused all this trouble. Naturally, she wouldn't miss this opportunity. However, even if she did that, it wouldn't change anything. It's not necessarily a bad thing for her to see things clearly earlier. Han Xiling had always believed that as long as everyone supported her and Bewitching being together, she would definitely succeed. However, she had been wrong. She had never judged matters of the heart in this way. Of course, Han Xiling's biggest mistake was that she had overlooked Bailey Hongzhuang's power. In the conference hall. Chapter 1128. It wasn't until the moment Bailey Hongzhuang appeared in the assembly hall that the rigid atmosphere in the assembly hall changed a little. The gazes of the four palace masters and the elders all fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This young woman was the main reason why they held the assembly hall today. When Xiao Hongzhen and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes couldn't help but flash with surprise, amazement and doubt. The image of Bailey Hongzhuang was quite different from what they had imagined. Although the young miss of an ordinary dynasty's general's estate had a good status in Fengbo country, but in their eyes, she was at most a pretty daughter of a humble family. However, the Bailey Hongzhuang in front of them didn't look like a pretty daughter of a humble family. She was wearing a white dress that was elegant and plain. It was obviously a very simple dress, but it gave people a kind of extraordinary and stunning feeling. Her beautiful face was like the most meticulous masterpiece of God, perfect without a trace of flaw. Even though they had seen countless people, when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang, they still couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 1129. Xiao Hongzhen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so smart. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang sat next to Bewitching, then everyone present would be dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, after Bewitching said this, Bailey Hongzhuang calmly and politely refused, and her words were full of respect for everyone. This point alone was enough to make everyone have a good impression. He couldn't help but wonder if this was a strategy discussed by Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. But at this moment, even if it was really discussed, so what? Thinking of this, Xiao Hongzhen couldn't help but give Jiang Yi a look. Now he and Jiang Yi were grasshoppers tied on the same rope. A large part of the reason why Bewitching left Tiangang's sect was because of them. Now that Bewitching was back, he would inevitably treat them as a thorn in his side. Even if Bewitching had not been back for long, they could feel Bewitching's dissatisfaction with them. Therefore, they only had one way left. If they couldn't support Bewitching to sit on the position of young sect master. Once Bewitching's position was completely stabilized, and he successfully became the sect master in the future, then their days would be difficult. Seeing Xiao Hongzhen's look, Jiang Yi immediately understood and immediately said, "Miss Bailey, I heard that you have always been a waste in Fengbo country who can't cultivate." When Bailey Hongzhuang heard Jiang Yi's words, she understood that this guy was thinking of a way to deal with her. In a short moment, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This question was the focus of their attention. According to everyone's thoughts, if this matter was true, then Bailey Hongzhuang would be very nervous, and even guilty when she heard this question. If this was fake, then Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely be angry and dissatisfied. However, the situation was different from what everyone had guessed. Bailey Hongzhuang just smiled faintly. Her beautiful face was even more gentle and moving, making people's hearts sway. When I was young, there was indeed a problem with my dantian. As a result, I was unable to cultivate for a period of time. However, it has already recovered. This was a fact. As long as they sent people to investigate, they would definitely find out about it. It was better to admit it openly than to hide it. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent answer, everyone believed in Bailey Hongzhuang even more. Since he's already been cured, Palace Master Jiang shouldn't bring this matter up again. There was a faint smile on Qin Ai's face. Her initial worries had quietly dissipated with Bailey Hongzhuang's answer. On the contrary, he had a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. If she had been an ordinary woman, she would have been very nervous when faced with such questions from the crowd. How could she possibly be as calm and collected as Bailey Hongzhuang? Bewitching really did not disappoint. Even though he had stayed in Fengbo country for 3 years, he had still managed to unearth a treasure. Hearing Qin Ai's accusatory words, Jiang Yi's expression turned ugly. He never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so calm. However, he did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang's dantian had really recovered. Miss Bailey, words have no proof. Not just anyone can become the young master's wife. If you're unable to cultivate and have lied to us, then... Jiang Yi did not finish his sentence, but everyone could tell from the look in his eyes. Palace Master Jiang, are you suspecting that I'm lying? Bailey Hongzhuang retorted. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.